The sun was hot in the small town of Pine Creek. Most shops were open on Main Street. People walked slowly because of the heat. Outside the Bluebird Diner sat a small brown dog. His name was Buddy. He was not big or special looking. He had floppy ears and kind eyes. Every day Buddy waited outside the diner. He belonged to Mrs. Jenkins, who owned the flower shop next door. Mrs. Jenkins was old and moved slowly. She loved Buddy very much. Each day at lunchtime, she would bring him some scraps from her meal. Buddy was patient and never made trouble. The people in town knew Buddy. Children would stop to pet him. Shop owners would give him water on hot days. Buddy was a part of the town, just like the old clock tower or the town square. It was Friday when the bikers came to town. There were 5 of them on big, loud motorcycles. They wore black leather jackets with patches. They had long beards and tattoos on their arms. The noise from their bikes made people turn and look. Some mothers pulled their children closer as the bikers drove past. The leader of the bikers was a tall man named Spike. He had a scar on his face and mean eyes. The other bikers followed what Spike did. They came to Pine Creek because they heard about a bike show in the next town. They stopped in Pine Creek for food and rest. The bikers parked their motorcycles in front of the Bluebird Diner. Their bikes were big and shiny. They took up most of the parking space. Buddy was in his usual spot near the door. He looked up at the bikers but did not move. He was not afraid because no one had ever been mean to him before. Spike saw Buddy and made a face. "Look at this mutt," he said to his friends, "sitting here like he owns the place." The other bikers laughed. They went into the diner and took a big table by the window. From there, they could see Buddy waiting outside. They ordered burgers and beer. They were loud and rude to the waitress. People in the diner looked nervous. Across the street was a black car with dark windows. Inside sat a man with sunglasses. No one noticed him. He had been there for some time, watching the street. He saw the bikers arrive. He saw how they looked at Buddy. He did not like what he saw, but he waited and watched. The bikers finished eating. They did not leave a tip for the waitress. They walked outside where Buddy was still waiting. The day was even hotter now. Buddy was panting in the heat. "This dog is in my way," said Spike. He moved toward Buddy. "Just go around him," said the youngest biker. His name was Rick. He did not want trouble. "No," said Spike. "This dog needs to learn who is boss." The other bikers formed a circle around Buddy. The dog looked up, still not afraid. His tail wagged a little. He thought they might be friendly. He did not know they were bad men. Spike took out his cigarette and blew smoke at Buddy's face. The dog backed up a little. The bikers laughed. "Watch this," said Spike. He kicked dirt toward Buddy. The dog moved away, confused. Another biker, Tom, thought this was funny. He gave Buddy a small kick, not hard enough to really hurt, but enough to scare the dog. Buddy yelped and tried to run, but the bikers had him surrounded. Mrs. Jenkins heard Buddy from her flower shop. She came to the door and called out, "Stop that. Leave him alone." The bikers just laughed at the old woman. They did not care. They thought it was fun to be mean. The man in the car with sunglasses saw everything. He put down his coffee cup. He opened his car door slowly. No one noticed him yet as he stepped out into the hot sun. He took off his sunglasses. His eyes were cold and angry. He started walking across the street toward the bikers and Buddy. The man walked across the street with steady steps. He was not in a hurry, but he moved with purpose. He wore a plain black shirt and blue jeans. Nothing about him looked special except his eyes. His eyes were sharp and focused. People on the street moved out of his way without thinking. Something about the man made them step aside. The bikers did not see him coming. They were too busy laughing at Buddy, who was now trying to hide under a bench. "Please stop," called Mrs. Jenkins again. Her voice was shaking. She was too old and weak to help Buddy. Tears filled her eyes as she watched the bikers being mean to her dog. Spike laughed and kicked more dirt at Buddy. "What are you going to do about it, old lady?" he called back. "She will not do anything," said a calm voice behind them. "But I will." The bikers turned around fast. They saw the man standing there. Up close he was taller than he looked from far away. His arms were strong, and he stood very still. There was something about him that made the bikers feel uneasy. "Who are you?" asked Spike, trying to sound tough. "This is none of your business." "My name is John Davis," said the man. His voice was quiet, but everyone could hear him clearly. "And in this town, we do not hurt dogs or disrespect old ladies." People from the diner came outside to watch. They stood in a group by the door. No one spoke. They all wanted to see what would happen next. "There are 5 of us and only 1 of you," said Tom, the second biggest biker. He stepped closer to John. "You should walk away before you get hurt." John did not move. He did not seem worried about the 5 big men. He looked at each biker one by one. When his eyes reached Rick, the youngest biker, Rick looked down at his boots. "I will say this once," said John. "You will apologize to Mrs. Jenkins. You will leave the dog alone. Then you will get on your bikes and leave this town." Spike laughed, but his laugh did not sound real. He was not used to people standing up to him. "And if we don't?" he asked. In one quick move, John took off his sunglasses. He put them in his pocket. Now everyone could see his full face. 2 of the bikers stepped back without thinking. "Wait," said one of them. His name was Bear. He was big with a round belly and a long beard. "I know this guy. That's John Davis." "So what?" said Spike. "I don't care who he is." "You should care," said Bear. His voice was different now. He sounded scared. "This is the John Davis, the one they call the Ghost. He was in the war. He was in the Special Forces. There are stories about what he can do." All the bikers except Spike looked worried now. They had heard tales about John Davis. Some said he could take down 5 men without breaking a sweat. Some said he once saved his whole team when they were trapped behind enemy lines. "Those are just stories," said Spike, but he did not sound sure. John took 1 step forward. Just 1. But it was enough to make Spike step back. John's eyes never left Spike's face. "Buddy," called John without looking away from the bikers. "Come here, boy." Buddy crawled out from under the bench. His tail was between his legs. He was still scared, but he went to John and sat by his feet. "Good boy," said John. He still did not look down or take his eyes off the bikers. Mrs. Jenkins stepped out of her flower shop. She walked slowly toward John and Buddy. Her hands were shaking. John spoke again. His voice was still calm, but there was something hard in it now. "So what will it be, gentlemen? Will you apologize and leave, or do we have a problem?" The street was very quiet now. No one moved. No one spoke. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. The bikers looked at each other. They were not sure what to do. Rick, the youngest biker, was the first to speak. "Look, we were just having some fun. We did not mean to cause trouble." His voice was shaky. He looked at John Davis with fear in his eyes. "Fun," said John. He said the word like it tasted bad in his mouth. "You think scaring a helpless dog is fun." Spike did not want to back down. He had never backed down from anyone. His friends would not respect him if he gave in now. "We do not take orders from anyone," he said. "Maybe you need to learn a lesson." Spike moved his hand to his back pocket where he kept a small knife. Before he could grab it, John moved forward. It happened so fast that no one saw exactly what he did. One moment Spike was reaching for his knife. The next moment he was on his knees. His arm was twisted behind his back. The knife fell to the ground. John held Spike with just one hand. It looked easy for him, like holding a child. "Making threats is a bad idea," John said quietly. "Making threats while reaching for a weapon is an even worse idea." The other bikers stood frozen. They did not try to help Spike. They were too surprised and scared. Tom, the second biggest biker, raised his hands. "We do not want any trouble," he said. "We will leave. Just let him go." "First, you apologize to Mrs. Jenkins and to Buddy," said John. His voice was still calm, but his grip on Spike did not loosen. Bear, the big biker who knew about John, quickly turned to Mrs. Jenkins. "We are very sorry, ma'am. We should not have bothered your dog. It was wrong, and we are sorry." The other bikers except Spike also said sorry to Mrs. Jenkins. She nodded but did not speak. She was still upset from seeing Buddy get hurt. "Now apologize to the dog," said John. The bikers looked confused. They had never said sorry to a dog before, but they did not want to make John angry. Bear knelt down so he was closer to Buddy's level. "Sorry, little dog. We were mean to you, and that was wrong." The other bikers also said sorry to Buddy. Spike was still on his knees with John holding his arm. His face was red with anger and shame. "Your turn," John said to Spike, twisting his arm a little more. Spike gritted his teeth. He did not want to give in, but his arm hurt badly. "Fine," he said. "Sorry to the old lady and sorry to the stupid dog." John twisted a bit harder. "Say it like you mean it." Spike let out a small cry of pain. "I am sorry, Mrs. Jenkins," he said in a clearer voice, "and I am sorry I was mean to your dog." John let go of Spike's arm and stepped back. "Now pick up your knife and get out of town. Do not come back." He kicked the knife toward Spike. Spike rubbed his sore arm. He picked up his knife with his other hand and put it in his pocket. He wanted to fight but knew he would lose. He had never met anyone like John Davis before. The crowd from the diner watched as the bikers walked back to their motorcycles. No one felt sorry for them. Everyone was glad that John had stopped them from hurting Buddy more. Mrs. Jenkins went to Buddy and patted his head. "Thank you, Mr. Davis," she said. "Not many people would stand up to men like that for an old woman and her dog." John nodded. "It was no trouble. Mrs. Jenkins, how is Buddy?" "He seems okay. Just scared." She checked Buddy for any injuries. A police car pulled up to the diner. The town sheriff, Bill Cooper, got out. Someone had called him about the trouble. "Everything okay here, John?" he asked. John nodded at Sheriff Cooper. "Just a small problem with some visitors who do not know how to treat animals, Bill." They were leaving. Sheriff Cooper looked at the bikers. He knew trouble when he saw it. "Is that right? You boys heading out?" The bikers nodded. None of them wanted to talk to the police. Bear spoke for the group. "Yes, sir. We are leaving now." Spike still looked angry, but he did not say anything. His arm hurt where John had twisted it. He got on his motorcycle without looking at anyone. The bikers started their motorcycles. The loud noise filled the street. They drove away fast, leaving dust behind them. People watched until they could not see them anymore. "What happened here?" asked Sheriff Cooper. Mrs. Jenkins explained how the bikers had been mean to Buddy. "If Mr. Davis had not stopped them, they might have really hurt my dog," she said. Sheriff Cooper wrote some notes in his small notebook. "Those bikers have been causing problems in other towns too. I got a call from Sheriff Tanner in Greenwood last week about a group matching their description." While they talked, John checked Buddy for injuries. The dog seemed okay now. His tail was wagging again. He licked John's hand. "No broken bones," said John. "He will be fine, Mrs. Jenkins. Just a little scared." "Would you like some tea, Mr. Davis?" asked Mrs. Jenkins. "It is the least I can do to thank you." John smiled for the first time. It made him look younger. "Thank you, but I have some work to do. Maybe another time." People from the diner started to go back inside. The excitement was over. A few stopped to pat Buddy or to thank John. He nodded but did not say much. "How long are you in town for this time, John?" asked Sheriff Cooper. "A few weeks. Maybe longer." John put his sunglasses back on. "I bought the old Miller place up by the lake." This news surprised people who were close enough to hear. The old Miller place had been empty for years. It was big and far from town. Most people thought it would never sell. "Well, welcome back," said Sheriff Cooper. "Stop by the station sometime. We can catch up." John nodded. He patted Buddy one more time, then walked back to his black car. People watched him drive away. "Who is he really?" asked Susan, the waitress from the diner. She stood next to Mrs. Jenkins. "A good man," said Mrs. Jenkins. "That is all that matters today." Sheriff Cooper knew more but did not say much. John Davis grew up here. Left after high school to join the military, Special Forces, served for many years. He does not talk about it. "I heard stories," said Tom from the hardware store. "They say he was some kind of hero in the war." "Maybe," said Sheriff Cooper, "but he never wanted any medals or attention. Just came home one day a few years ago. Stays for a while, then leaves again. Keeps to himself mostly." Mrs. Jenkins picked up Buddy and held him close. "Well, I am glad he was here today. My Buddy might not be alive if Mr. Davis had not stepped in." The next day, word about what happened spread through the small town. Everyone was talking about John Davis and how he had stood up to the 5 bikers. Some stories made him sound even more amazing than he really was. People said he had fought all 5 bikers at once. Others said he was a secret agent, not just a soldier. The truth was interesting enough. John Davis was back in Pine Creek, and he had shown that he was not someone to mess with. 3 days after the incident with the bikers, life in Pine Creek had returned to normal. Buddy was back at his regular spot outside the Bluebird Diner. Mrs. Jenkins brought him treats at lunchtime as always. The hot weather continued. John Davis had not been seen in town since the day he helped Buddy. People wondered about him. Some wanted to thank him properly. Others were just curious about the quiet man who had scared away 5 tough bikers without breaking a sweat. "Has anyone seen Mr. Davis?" Mrs. Jenkins asked in the diner. She had baked a special apple pie to thank him, but she did not know where to find him. No one had seen him. The old Miller place was far from town. There were no close neighbors. The only road to it went through thick woods and was easy to miss if you did not know where to look. Sheriff Cooper sipped his coffee. John values his privacy. Always has, even as a kid. If he wants company, he will come to town. Mrs. Jenkins looked sad. "I just wanted to thank him properly. For saving Buddy." "I can take you up there," offered Mike, the local mail carrier. "I have to deliver some packages to him tomorrow anyway." The next morning, Mrs. Jenkins got into Mike's mail truck with her apple pie. Buddy came too. He sat on her lap for the ride. The road to the old Miller place was bumpy and full of turns. After 20 minutes, they arrived at a long driveway with a gate. "Here we are," said Mike. He pressed a button on a small box near the gate. "Mr. Davis, it is Mike with the mail. Mrs. Jenkins is with me." There was silence for a moment. Then a voice came from the box. "Come on up." The gate opened slowly. Mike drove up the long driveway. Trees lined both sides. At the end was a large 2-story house. It looked old but well taken care of. A new roof had been put on recently. The porch had fresh paint. John Davis was waiting on the porch. He wore work clothes and boots. He had been cutting wood. A pile of logs sat near the house. "Mrs. Jenkins," he said as she got out of the truck. "Is everything okay? Is Buddy all right?" "Everything is fine, Mr. Davis," she said. "I just wanted to thank you properly for what you did. I baked you an apple pie." John looked surprised. He was not used to gifts. "You did not have to do that." "I wanted to," she said firmly. "Not many people would have helped an old woman and her dog like you did." Mike delivered the packages to John. There were several large boxes. "Looks like you are fixing up the old place," Mike said. John nodded. "It needed work. Been empty too long." "Are you staying this time?" asked Mike. "Or just passing through again?" John did not answer right away. He looked at the house and then at the woods around it. "Not sure yet. Thinking about it." Mrs. Jenkins smiled. Well, we would be happy to have you. Pine Creek is a good place to call home. Buddy jumped out of the mail truck. He ran to John and wagged his tail. John bent down and patted the dog. Buddy licked his hand and barked happily. Looks like you made a friend for life, said Mrs. Jenkins. John smiled. It was a small smile but real. Would you like to come in for some coffee? I just made a fresh pot. Mrs. Jenkins and Mike followed John into the house. Inside was simple but clean. Not many decorations, solid furniture. A few books on shelves. One wall had pictures in frames. Most showed men in military uniforms. Friends from his army days, Mrs. Jenkins guessed. They sat at the kitchen table. John served coffee in plain mugs. He cut slices of apple pie for each of them. Even Buddy got a small treat. This is good pie, said John after taking a bite. Thank you. It is my mother's recipe, said Mrs. Jenkins. She taught me to bake when I was a girl. They talked about simple things. The weather, the town, how Mrs. Jenkins had lived in Pine Creek all her life, how her husband had passed away 10 years ago, how Buddy had been a gift from her son who lived in the city. John did not talk much about himself. He listened more than he spoke, but he seemed to enjoy the company. A week passed. John Davis came into town a few times. He bought supplies at the hardware store. He had coffee at the Bluebird Diner. He nodded to people but still did not talk much. When he saw Buddy, he always stopped to pat the dog. Saturday morning was busy in Pine Creek. Farmers from nearby areas came to sell fresh food at the weekly market. The street was full of people. Children played. Music played from speakers. It was a happy time. Mrs. Jenkins had a small table where she sold flowers from her shop. Buddy sat next to her, watching the people go by. He wore a new collar that Mrs. Jenkins had bought him. It was blue with small white stars. John walked through the market. He bought fresh bread and some vegetables. People said hello to him. He was becoming a familiar face again. Some older folks remembered him from before he left to join the army. John Davis, called a voice. Is that really you? John turned to see an older man with gray hair. It was Mr. Parker, his old high school teacher. Mr. Parker, said John with a nod. Good to see you, sir. When did you come back to Pine Creek? Asked Mr. Parker. Last I heard you were still with the Special Forces. Got out a few years ago, said John. Been moving around. Thought I might settle down now. They talked for a few minutes. Mr. Parker had retired from teaching 5 years ago. He still lived in the same house near the school. His wife had passed away last winter. You should come for dinner sometime, said Mr. Parker. I would like to hear about what you have been doing all these years. John nodded but did not make a firm plan. He was still not comfortable with too much attention. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the other end of the market. Loud voices. Someone yelled. People moved back, making the space. John and Mr. Parker went to see what was happening. 5 motorcycles had parked at the edge of the market. The bikers from earlier that week were back. They looked angry. Spike was in front. His arm was in a black brace. John had heard it worse than it first seemed. Where is he? Spike shouted. Where is Davis? People looked scared. No one answered him. The bikers walked through the market, pushing people aside. They knocked over a table of fruits. Apples and oranges rolled on the ground. Davis, called Spike again. Come out, you coward. John stepped forward from the crowd. He did not look worried. I am here, he said calmly. I thought I told you not to come back. Spike turned to face John. His eyes were full of hate. You broke my arm, he said. The doctor says I might not be able to ride right for months. You pulled a knife, said John. You are lucky a broken arm is all you got. Sheriff Cooper pushed through the crowd. What is going on here? I thought I made it clear you boys were not welcome in Pine Creek. This is between me and him, said Spike, pointing at John. He has to pay for what he did. You need to leave, said Sheriff Cooper. His hand moved to his gun. Now, the other bikers looked nervous. They had not expected the sheriff to be here. Bear touched Spike's shoulder. "Come on, man. This is not smart. We can find him another time." But Spike was too angry to listen. He had been thinking about John Davis for days, about how John had made him look weak in front of everyone, how his arm hurt every time he moved it, how the other bikers did not respect him as much now. "No," said Spike. "We finish this today." He reached into his jacket with his good arm. People gasped. They thought he might have a gun. Sheriff Cooper drew his weapon. "Hands where I can see them," he ordered. Spike slowly pulled out a piece of paper. "This is not about fighting," he said. "This is about the law. I filed charges against you, Davis. Assault. My lawyer says I can sue you for a lot of money, too." He threw the paper at John's feet. "See you in court," Spike said with an ugly smile. This was not what anyone expected. John picked up the paper and looked at it. "Is that real?" asked Sheriff Cooper. John nodded. "Looks like a real summons." He did not seem upset about it. "You cannot do that," said Mrs. Jenkins, stepping forward with Buddy. "Mr. Davis was protecting my dog from you. You were hurting Buddy for no reason." "It is his word against ours," said Spike. "And there are 5 of us. We will all say he attacked me for no reason. Who do you think the judge will believe?" People in the crowd began to talk angrily. They knew the truth, but Spike was right. It would be hard to prove what really happened. "Actually," said a new voice, "that is not true." Everyone turned to look. A young woman stepped forward. She held up her phone. "I recorded everything that day. The whole thing. You kicking the dog, threatening Mrs. Jenkins, pulling a knife on Mr. Davis. All of it." The woman was Lisa Chen. She worked at the coffee shop next to the diner. She was quiet and shy. No one had noticed her filming that day. "I was on my break," Lisa explained. "I saw what was happening and started recording. I was going to give the video to Sheriff Cooper, but he showed up right as it ended. Then I forgot about it." Spike's face turned red with anger. "Give me that phone," he demanded, moving toward Lisa. Sheriff Cooper stepped between them. "Back off," he warned Spike. "Ms. Chen, may I see the video, please?" Lisa handed her phone to the sheriff. He watched the video with a serious face. When it was done, he looked at Spike. "This changes everything," said Sheriff Cooper. "The video clearly shows you assaulting Mrs. Jenkins's dog. Then it shows you pulling a knife on John. He acted in self-defense." Spike looked less confident now. She could have made that up, edited it, or something. "The timestamp is clear," said Sheriff Cooper. "And there are plenty of witnesses who will back it up." He looked at the crowd. Many people nodded. "So what?" said Spike, trying to sound tough. "It is just a stupid dog. No one cares about that." "Actually," said Sheriff Cooper, "animal cruelty is a serious crime in this state. And threatening someone with a knife is even more serious. I think it is time for you boys to come down to the station. We need to have a long talk." 2 more police cars pulled up to the market. Officers got out and walked toward the bikers. Bear and the other bikers looked at each other. They were in real trouble now. "This is all your fault," Bear said to Spike. "I told you we should leave it alone." Spike tried to run but did not get far. 2 officers caught him easily. The other bikers did not resist. They knew it would only make things worse. Sheriff Cooper read them their rights as the officers put handcuffs on them. People in the crowd watched silently. Some took pictures with their phones. "Ms. Chen," said Sheriff Cooper, "we will need a copy of that video for evidence. Can you come down to the station later today?" Lisa nodded. "Yes, sir. I can do that." As the police took the bikers away, people gathered around John and Lisa. They thanked Lisa for her quick thinking. They patted John on the back. He looked uncomfortable with all the attention. "You saved the day, Miss Chen," said Mrs. Jenkins. "Thank you." "I just did what anyone would do," said Lisa with a shy smile. It was not right what they were doing to Buddy. John looked at the court summons in his hand. "Guess I will not need to worry about this now," he said. He folded the paper and put it in his pocket. Mr. Parker smiled at his former student. "You always did have a way of finding trouble, John, even in high school." "Trouble finds me," said John. "I do not look for it." The market slowly got back to normal. People returned to shopping and talking. Children played again. Music started playing from the speakers. But now everyone was talking about what had happened, about how the bikers had come back for revenge, about how quiet Lisa Chen had saved the day with her video, and about John Davis, the mysterious man who had stood up to the bikers twice now. People had even more questions about him. "Will you still come to dinner?" Mr. Parker asked John. "My offer still stands." John thought for a moment. Then he nodded. "Sure, that would be nice." It was a small step, but for John, who had been alone for so long, it was a big change. Maybe Pine Creek could be home again after all. 2 weeks later, John sat in the courthouse in the next town over. The case against the bikers was being heard today. As the main witness, John had to be there. He did not like courtrooms. Too many people, too many eyes on him. But he knew this was important. Mrs. Jenkins sat next to him. Buddy was at home today. Dogs were not allowed in the courthouse. Lisa Chen sat on John's other side. Her video was the most important piece of evidence. Sheriff Cooper was there too, ready to testify about what he had seen. The bikers sat at the other table with their lawyer. Spike still had the brace on his arm. He looked angry. The other bikers looked worried. They knew they were in serious trouble. The judge came in and everyone stood up. Judge Harris was an older woman with gray hair and serious eyes. She had been a judge for 20 years. She did not like people who broke the law in her county. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Sarah Harris," called the court officer. The trial did not take long. The charges were clear: animal cruelty, disturbing the peace, threatening behavior, assault with a deadly weapon for Spike's knife. The evidence was strong. Lisa's video showed everything. The biker's lawyer tried to say they were just playing with the dog, that John had overreacted, that Spike had only pulled the knife because he felt threatened, but the video showed the truth. When it was John's turn to testify, he spoke clearly but simply. He told exactly what happened. No more, no less. He did not try to make the bikers look worse than they were. He just told the truth. "And why did you intervene, Mr. Davis?" asked the prosecutor. "The dog was in danger," said John. "Mrs. Jenkins could not protect him. Someone had to help." During a break in the trial, John stepped outside for some fresh air. Courtrooms made him feel trapped. Too many bad memories from his time in the service. He had testified in military courts before. Those had not been good days. Mrs. Jenkins followed him outside. "Are you okay, Mr. Davis?" John nodded. "Just needed some air. Courts are not my favorite place." "You did well in there," she said. "Very clear and honest." "I just told what happened," said John. Mrs. Jenkins smiled. "That is why people believe you. You do not try to make yourself look good. You just tell the truth." They went back inside for the end of the trial. Judge Harris did not take long to make her decision. The bikers were guilty on all charges. "Animal cruelty is a serious offense in this court," said Judge Harris. Her voice was stern. "And threatening a citizen with a knife is even more serious. Add to that your attempt to falsely accuse Mr. Davis through legal channels, and we have a pattern of troubling behavior." Spike looked at the floor. The other bikers looked ashamed. "Mr. Jenkins," continued the judge, looking at Bear, "Mr. Taylor, Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Brooks." She named each of the other bikers. "You will each serve 30 days in county jail and pay a fine of $500. You will also perform 100 hours of community service at the animal shelter." She turned to Spike. "Mr. Carter, as the leader and the one who pulled the knife, your sentence is more severe. 6 months in county jail, $1,000 fine, and 200 hours of community service upon release. Spike started to protest, but his lawyer put a hand on his arm to stop him. In addition, said Judge Harris, all of you are banned from entering Pine Creek for a period of 2 years. If you are found in town for any reason, you will be arrested. Do I make myself clear? The bikers all nodded. They knew they had gotten off easy. The charges could have meant years in prison if the judge had wanted to be harsh. As the court emptied, people from Pine Creek congratulated John, Mrs. Jenkins, and Lisa. Justice had been served. The bikers would pay for what they did to Buddy. John slipped away during the celebration. He did not like being the center of attention. He walked outside to the parking lot where his black car waited. "Mr. Davis," called a voice. It was Sheriff Cooper. "Leaving so soon?" "My part is done," said John. "Time to go home." Sheriff Cooper smiled. "Home. That is a good word. Pine Creek missed you all these years, John." John did not reply, but something in his face had changed. The word home had meant many things to him over the years. Barracks, tents in war zones, hotel rooms, temporary apartments. But now, maybe, it could mean Pine Creek again. 1 month after the trial, Pine Creek held its annual summer festival. The town square was decorated with lights and flags. Food stands filled the air with delicious smells. A small stage had been set up for local musicians to play. Most of the town came out for the festival. It was a tradition going back 50 years, a time for everyone to celebrate their community before the summer ended and fall began. Mrs. Jenkins had a booth where she sold flower arrangements. Buddy sat next to her with a blue ribbon on his collar. He had become something of a local celebrity after the incident with the bikers. Children stopped to pet him and give him treats. "Have you seen Mr. Davis?" Mrs. Jenkins asked people who stopped at her booth. "I saved a special bouquet for him." No one had seen John. Some wondered if he would come at all. He still kept to himself most days. He came to town for supplies and sometimes had coffee at the diner. But large crowds were not his thing. Mr. Parker, John's old teacher, walked up to Mrs. Jenkins, looking for John. "I invited him. He said he might come." "I hope he does," said Mrs. Jenkins. "The whole town wants to thank him properly." Lisa Chen was there too. She worked at the coffee stand with her parents. After her video had helped catch the bikers, people saw her differently. She was not just the quiet girl at the coffee shop anymore. She was brave and had done the right thing when it mattered. The festival was in full swing when Sheriff Cooper took the stage. He tapped the microphone to get everyone's attention. "Good evening, Pine Creek," he said. "Welcome to our annual summer festival. Before the band starts playing, we have something special planned." People gathered around the stage, curious about what was happening. "Our town has always been a community that looks out for each other," continued Sheriff Cooper. "And recently, we saw a perfect example of that spirit. When someone was in trouble, others stepped up to help." He called Mrs. Jenkins to the stage. She came up slowly, holding Buddy in her arms. People clapped for them. "We also want to recognize Lisa Chen," said Sheriff Cooper. Her quick thinking and bravery helped bring justice. Lisa blushed as she walked to the stage. She was not used to being in the spotlight. People clapped even louder for her. "And finally," said Sheriff Cooper, "we want to thank someone who showed us what it means to stand up for what is right. Someone who came back to Pine Creek after many years away and reminded us what this town is all about." He looked around. "Is John Davis here tonight?" People looked around too. For a moment, no one saw him. Then a tall figure moved from the back of the crowd. John walked slowly toward the stage. He looked uncomfortable with all the attention, but he kept walking. "John," said Sheriff Cooper with a smile, "on behalf of Pine Creek, we want to thank you for what you did. Not just for Mrs. Jenkins and Buddy, but for showing all of us what courage looks like." The mayor of Pine Creek joined them on stage. She held a small wooden plaque. "Mr. Davis, this is a small token of our appreciation. You reminded us what it means to be a community." John looked at the plaque. It read, "To John Davis, for courage and compassion. Pine Creek thanks you." He did not know what to say. He was not used to thanks or recognition. In the military, he had done his job and never asked for praise. That was how he had always lived. "I did not do anything special," he said into the microphone. His voice was quiet but clear. "Anyone would have helped Mrs. Jenkins and Buddy." "But not everyone did," said the mayor. "You did." The crowd clapped and cheered. John looked out at all the faces. People he had known as a boy. New people who had moved to town while he was away. All of them smiling at him, thanking him. For the first time in a very long time, John Davis felt something he had not felt in years. A sense of belonging. A feeling that he was where he was supposed to be. After the ceremony, people came up to shake his hand, to thank him personally, to welcome him home. John tried to be polite, but it was still hard for him to deal with so much attention. Mrs. Jenkins gave him the special bouquet she had saved. "For your house," she said, "to brighten it up a bit." "Thank you," said John. He looked at the flowers, not sure what to do with them. It had been a long time since anyone had given him flowers. Buddy barked happily and wagged his tail. John bent down to pat the dog's head. "You are looking good, Buddy," he said. "No more trouble with bikers, I hope." "Not with you around," said Mrs. Jenkins with a smile. As the night went on, the band played music. People danced. Children ran around with glow sticks. Food and drinks were shared. It was everything a small-town festival should be. John stayed longer than anyone expected. He even talked with people. About simple things. The weather. The fishing at the lake. Plans for his house. Nothing too personal. But it was a start. As the festival wound down, John walked back to his car. The old Miller place was waiting for him, but it did not feel empty anymore. It felt like home. And Pine Creek felt like his town again. Behind him, the lights of the festival glowed in the darkness. The sound of music and laughter filled the air. John Davis smiled to himself. Maybe this was where he belonged after all. Where a man with his skills and his history could finally find peace. Where even a quiet man in sunglasses could make a difference by doing what was right. And it had all started because some bikers kicked a dog for fun, not knowing who was watching.